It's a bright, beautiful morning. Thank you very much for joining us. And of course, I'm looking at Edgar Handsome Nyahururu saying Nyahururu tuned. Mohammed Nur Abdullahi saying good morning. Naya saying good morning. Anki looking good as always. So do you. Thank you very much. Joyce Kimari saying good morning, Anki. Listening as always. Good morning. Do you have overland truck drivers in South Africa? Of course, they've talked about across Africa, Kenya through to South Africa. Joyce Kimari, is that how you actually get to South Africa? Let's find out from you this morning. And of course, she's saying, I love the moment when I see truck drivers at the borders and how disciplined and cooperative they are with each other. That's already amazing feedback, Vinny. How are you?
Wonderful.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
I was actually thinking of, getting into, an overland truck drive, and being trusted as that driver to take us through all those routes that we've never been through. And we were talking about the qualifications earlier on. I interrupted, but you mentioned being a driver before. But what then qualifies you to be on that road through the bush, across the continent? Is it just, well, I've been here 18 years of experience that then qualifies me to handle every other animal and rock?
That's a very interesting question. Actually, overland driving is just not being a driver. Although first you have to be a driver. Being a driver, you have to understand your driving, your track, the roads, the terrain. Now, being an overland driver, with all these things, you have to add etiquette, you have to know natural linguistics comes in. Mm-hmm. You end up speaking so many languages. You have to be warm. You have to be a warm person by nature. Anyone can approach you. You can approach anyone, because what happens is when you're out there, you need assistance. You, the driver, for example, you are stuck. You, the driver, you're the first responsible person. So you should understand my community. Who are these people? Are they hostile? Are they friendly? If they are hostile, how do I approach them? So you have to incorporate all these things. My passenger is hurt. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. How do I respond?
Yeah, first aid.
My first aid. Do I say, okay, fine, let's wait until we arrive at the next one? No. There are things you address on the spot.
Okay.
So overland driving is just not ignition, engine on, gear 20. No. It's about etiquette, it's about first aid, it's about your mechanical knowledge of your truck. So when I'm saying understand your truck, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. When I'm in the bush, my truck has broken down, I should be able to determine this thing, how can I repair it to keep moving? Or do I need assistance? When am I getting my assistance? I should be able to communicate this to my passengers. So when I talk about communication, yes, I should be able to know how to tell them. This is where age comes in.
All right.
I'm dealing with what age group? These are teenagers. So how do I tell them, guys, this and this is broken, or I'm having this problem, this is how we're addressing it? It's not the same way I would deal with
the elderly?
The elderly.
Mm-hmm.
These are people, I must approach them in a certain way that would make them understand. Okay. Going out of topic a bit, mm-hmm. Most of our trips they have their themes.
Oh, beautiful. Sometimes
it's not about the animals, it's about the scenery. Oh. What age group am I dealing with? These people, what did they come here to see? What was their interest? My trip is about the scenery. So in my scenery, how do I make them feel I'm not, I'm not inconveniencing them? I should be able to tell them, okay, guys, we can have a walk around as I address this. As you walk around, understand your respect to the environment. You can be, let me give you a very good example.
Yes.
The Namib Desert. Mm-hmm. You are one truck, the 26 of you. I have a puncture. It is so hot, like give it 36 to 42 degrees.
That's high.
That's really high. So you have to tell your passengers, guys, keep on rehydrating. But now we have a breakdown. So guys, enjoy your scenery, but be within the vicinity. That's just a typical example.
I'm looking at when you're in the truck. I know in matatus we have the driver and the tout. So I know somebody will help. Maybe sometimes when there is a breakdown, we see the tout run with a jerrycan or take a boda quick to the next gas station. What happens with you? Do you have support team in there or just the passengers and yourself?
Most of our trips, we're a crew of 3, the driver, the tour guide, and a chef.
Oh, amazing. Okay.
So we basically behave like we become a family. When I'm driving, he's my co-driver. When he's cooking, I'm his co-driver in the kitchen. So that's how we interact. And with Overland, why it becomes an experience is once you started this trip, you and your passengers integrate into one family. So in any problem, you address it as a family.
The distractions. Don't you get distracted? A lot of times Mr. Worotet is actually watching saying, following keenly, Bayer fuel in a Panda na 15 bob. Is it? Again, I'm going to talk about fuel for you as well because you get to consume a lot more. But I was going to talk about the distractions. A lot of times when we've had accidents, Mr. Worotet would say, when the driver is questioned, they say, I did not see, I did not hear, I did not even think. But you have people making merry right in the truck, fascinated, some are even panicked. Oh, there's a cheetah. You don't get distracted at all. How do you deal with distractions?
We come back to the aspect of understand yourself. What am I doing? I am the driver. I am responsible for these people. So my focus would be, most of these animals, we end up spotting them fast before the group have spotted them. I know where I would find a cheetah. I know where I would find a lion. I know where I would find a buffalo. I know. So when I'm driving through, I know within this vicinity, I'm bound to see a lion. So my speed would be maybe 20 to 10. So I spot a lion, I will be the first one to mention, guys, lion on the left. Then you give them their moment of excitement. Those moments you can't really describe, the way different group reacts to different animals.
All right.
So you let them have their moment, you let them have their moment, you let them have their moment. Then as you drive through, you're understanding your environment. You talked about weather.
Yes.
Before every trip, understand your season. Are we in the rainy season?
Oh, nice.
Are we in the dry season? Where I'm going, what is the weather pattern? All these things you have to put into consideration. This is why an overland driver is just not a driver. I'm driving to say Mombasa. What is the season? We're in the festive season. This is Christmas season. So my most concern would be more road users. Everyone is rushing. Me, I'm not rushing. Why should I rush? I'll always get there. That is one thing you learn with overland. Patience. I will always get there. You have your tents with you. You have your food with you. It gives you that back comfort.
All right.
Even if we have to camp here, we are fine. It's an experience. It's part of the journey.
When you talked about knowing your season, it's been quite, unpredictable. With the global warming, we've had a lot of discussion on environment and conservation. We didn't expect rain early this year. So unpredictable as it may be, how then do you handle the stormy moments that you did not plan for? You did not predict, actually. Yes.
We get them. But we normally check our weather on a daily basis.
Okay.
You check your weather on a daily basis, you prepare your passengers, prepare yourself psychologically. For example, I'm driving to, say, Mara. I wasn't expecting rain, but now it has rained heavily. So even within the Mara, I would know I'm not supposed to go to point A because now I'll have to avoid point A and visit point B because of the rain. The terrain is very poor, the roads are very poor. So we have those options. Now that is where the experience comes in.
That's where the experience comes in. Every other time we've talked about any other roads, like in the cities, when they headed to the, Christmas seasons or festivities, now there's Easter somewhere. There is something that my other road ambassadors have mentioned. Roads changing every other time. There are bumps erected here today. Tomorrow there is something, a construction going on. But we've had very different reactions from drivers who say, well, I use this road every other time. I don't need to do a reconnaissance. They're just going to wake up one morning and they're applying that route. Would you advise that? Do you guys do reconnaissance? Do you scout?
Yeah.
Yes.
We do a lot. I can call ahead, like if I'm driving to Nakuru tomorrow, I would call. What is the road like? What is new? I would call my colleagues. Overland is a community. Look, guys,
Oh,
I'm
nice.
going to Uganda. What is it like? I was there last month. What is it like? Somebody, oh, I was there last week. This has changed. When you get there, this has changed. So we do a lot of that. We do a lot of research for your own safety, for your own comfort. I mean, it's really wonderful doing those things, because you might arrive at a point, it's a dead end. How do you do it?
Yeah, how do you do it?
That is where the research comes in. I'm arriving at say, Kisoro in Uganda. Now, from Kisoro, I can't move ahead. So what happens? What are the other options? I will have asked, from Kisoro, take this route, or avoid Kisoro by diverting from this point.
Which point could it be? Some of us are learning from you these words like Kisoro, these places we never heard of.
Let me give you a good example.
Yes.
How do I avoid Kampala city? We have bypasses. So without knowing, you would drive right through the city. Now, driving through the city could be hectic. And I must say, most of our African cities, Nairobi I still rate it very high. So with the jumps we see here, it's not the same jam you'd find in Kampala, for example. But because I'm not interested in showing them city life, that is not the theme of this trip, I would know. Somebody would advise me, but before you get to Kampala, there'll be a bypass on the left. Oh, I didn't leave that one there. I thought, yeah, it's something new. So you'll go maybe 10, 20 kilometers, take another left, he will give me direction.
Okay.
Now, that is where Overland comes in. I'm going to Mara. Guys, what is Mara like? I was there last month, 2 weeks ago. Somebody would be like, okay, this is what has changed in Mara. When you're going to TP Likwani, approach it this way. When you're going to Mara River, approach it this way. We know.
And I'm just looking at, I don't know if you're watching and you're feeling how mature this conversation is, if this is the kind of sobriety that we would actually have all our drivers, incorporate on the roads. Won't we have a beautiful community? Even with the, border assaults that we've been seeing, we wouldn't have them if the border people were in communication with each other, keeping each other in check. Because what you guys are doing with overland truck driving is commendable. I would actually, challenge us to pick that. And Mr. Orotet actually agrees with me. He's saying, my friend here is very mature. From his conversation, I pick awareness, anticipation, adoption, journey planning management, knowledge of passenger information, drive long, my brother, and safe. That's what he's saying.
Thank you. Thank you.
And of course, Oyando Wycliffe saying, good morning, watching live from 045 Kisii branch. Good morning, Wycliffe. Awar Otet again saying, tomorrow I'm heading to Gorion in the Mara. What advice do you have for me?
Gorion.
Yes.
In the Mara.
I think he's driving there.
I would ask him what is the purpose of his trip.
Okay.
Because if he wanted to see something, or maybe he's going to visit someone, I would give him a different advice. It's long, I think it's about 2 or 3 weeks since I was in the Mara. So I would have to ask around my colleagues who was in the Mara, say, okay, we have a WhatsApp group.
Okay.
So that's how I would spread the question. Who was in the Mara most recently? Somebody would say, I was in the Mara probably yesterday, I came back to Nairobi today in the morning. So this would be my resource center. What was in the Mara? How do I get to Gorion? What is in Gorion? I would get him his feedback.
All right.
We are generous with information.
You are generous with information. This would cut out the selfishness and entitlement that we're having on our city roads. I like that. In cases where, there is do you guys ever get into accidents?
We do.
Like what type of accidents?
We do.
Yeah.
Most of our accidents are, okay, an accident would be an accident. First of all, it's an accident. It's something that was not intended. For example, you have broken down and because of lack of respect or discipline, somebody hits you. How do you address it?
Wait, I'm curious. Someone hits you where exactly? Are you off-road or the days when you're going through a city? When do you get to be hit? By whom exactly?
Okay, in a heat accident, it would happen mostly in a heavy traffic environment. That's probably be a highway, would be a... It doesn't mean I have to be hit. I could be the one who has hit you for various reasons. I'm expecting you're moving, I'm not seeing your brake lights for whatever reason. That is what I'm saying. Understand your vehicle. So if your brake lights are not working and I'm not able to see, are you moving or not moving? What is the vicinity? It's raining. What is the time? It's 7-ish in the evening. So the vicinity is very poor. And then I happen to hit you. How am I addressing it? I would always come and check on you. How are you? How are you affected? Okay, normally an accident, from my experience, an accident traumatizes someone. So first I would comfort you. Oh, sorry, this is what has happened. Now, how do we move from here? This and this and this. I would advise you from my technical knowledge. Then from there, I would also talk to my passengers. Guys, this is what has happened. This is the nature of the scenario. This is how we've addressed it.
Okay.
Information is very good.
Information.
And discipline. Discipline is, I don't know, paramount.
I am actually very appreciative of this conversation this morning, and I'm now looking at how are we embracing overland, trips in the country. It's very few of them. I mean, from what I have picked in research, and what would be your word to the public, to the government, to people watching this morning? Some have just little trust or confidence yet.
I agree with them, because to them, overland is something new. But it is not as new as such. Overland has been there over the years. So it's something I would encourage. Guys, venture into it, come and experience it. It is not something that you will be disappointed. The trip will be worth it, trust me. Depending on all the challenges you will meet, the trip will be worth it.
That was a lot of emphasis. The trip will be worth it. Owori is saying, I'm going to visit a camp on FGM in plan to a major charity visit. That's the purpose of his trip. The gentleman who actually shared earlier that he needed some advice on the Gorion trip.
My first advice would be check on your weather, check on the terrain. Check on the weather patterns of Gorion, check on the terrain. The road might not be the way you left it. Okay, if you haven't been there, consult. Consult. How
do we consult you further, sir? Are you on social media at all?
We are on social media. We are on social media. In fact, for that, I give all overlanders, I give you a thumbs up. We are always looking out for each other.
So what's the name of the social media platform that we can reach you on, or the rest of them can reach you on?
You can get me on my number. You can get me on Facebook. Look for Vini Kiwanuka.
Vini?
Kiwanuka.
Kiwanuka.
Yes.
So search him, follow him, and reach out, ask more questions. Also, I'm looking at Kenyans thinking this is quite an expensive experience. Is it as expensive as we perceive? But expensive means safe.
Well, this word expensive, how is it defined? If I'm paying you 10 bob for a cup of tea, and I'm paying you 50 shillings for the same cup of tea, you would say 50 is expensive. But what makes this cup of tea 50 bob and this one 10 bob? So I wouldn't really talk about it being as expensive. Look at the worth.
Okay.
Look at the worth of this trip. Look at what someone has gone through to design and come up with this trip for you. So it's expensive when you don't know what is behind the curtains.
All right. Find out. Look, now we're talking about not having to necessarily wear the mask. How about if this is how to revive your families? Catch up on those trips. Have fun. Have the experience you've not had in the many years we've been fighting the pandemic. And I'm seeing a lot of confidence in Vini today. I'm actually calculating on how this is going to work out for me on Saturday. How long? I know we're wrapping up, Madam Director, real quick, but how long does it take you to plan a trip? Just a quick one.
A quick one, okay. Depends on the trip. Where are we going?
Okay.
We have short trips, we have long trips. Short trips can be a weekend trip. We have 1 month trips, we have 3 month trips. So it actually depends on which trip are you interested in.
But planning is paramount, very, very
planning
important.
Planning is very paramount.
I'm being told the fuel now has risen or is yet to rise. I'm really trying to be careful with that by 15 shillings, which is way, way high. Does that affect you as well, even as we're concluding?
It affects the price, the cost of the trip. The overall cost of the trip will be affected.
All right.
Yeah.
And I am also going to challenge you. I see you wearing a bracelet that is not Kenyan. Why? Why not Kenyan? Look, I wish my camera crew was here.
We are East Africa.
That is East Africa.
This is the Tanzanian flag.
So, okay. Why didn't you pick the Kenyan flag to be specific?
I'm a Kenyan, but I relate with Tanzanians and Ugandans. So when you go out there,
Yes.
we become Africans.
Amazing.
It's not being a Kenyan, it's not being a Tanzanian, we're just Africans. We celebrate the Africanness. Yeah.
The Africanness. All right. And of course, I appreciate your time. He actually came in just this morning all the way from Mombasa to grace the Arrive Alive this morning, appreciating his wisdom, his composure, the maturity and sobriety he has brought on set when it comes to how to relate with other road users. And he said something very powerful, respecting, number one, the animals, respecting your environment, respecting the passengers. There's a lot of respect in this conversation. And sir, please come again. We also would love to know what kind of foods you prepare in there. But for now, I want to give you a chance to give one last remark, closing remark on road safety. It doesn't have to be overlanding, but you've been a driver 18 years, 4 years added to it, about 20 years on the roads, 4 years off-road and 18 on our major roads. Please give your final remarks on that camera as we wrap up the show, maybe a minute.
My word would be, let us be disciplined. Let us internalize discipline, then radiate the discipline. Discipline is the key. Discipline and patience, period.
Internalize it and then radiate it. Yes. What better words to use? That's just it for the Arrive Alive. We're coming in with another conversation. Remember, today is 14th of March. If you had no idea, it's a very important day for the rivers, for environmentalists and activists when it comes to conservation of the environment. Of course, I want to appreciate the late Wangari Maathai for being an icon in that. We'll be having a discussion on the state of our rivers. Are we taking too much time to save these rivers for the good of humanity? When was the last time you checked your rivers? The pollution. Some are now turned into drainages and seweries. Did you know that? How is Nairobi River, by the way? When was the last time you went to just tour the Nairobi River is a question I'm having today. And will that then translate to the water shortage we experience in certain estates within the Nairobi city? Well, let's get those answers shortly on the big conversation. But for now, that was Arrive Alive with an overland truck driver. Impressive conversation indeed. A great shout out to all of you who make our experience unforgettable. We come back, don't go too far away. It's a beautiful day. And this is The Morning Drive.